evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson. Tonight, we want to bring you the latest on what was really a remarkable story that broke late Friday in the New York Times. We didn't have time to address it then. According to what are apparently high-level sources within the Department of Justice, in 2017, the FBI secretly began an investigation into whether the president is, in fact, a Russian agent. The FBI apparently believed that President Trump could be a one-man sleeper cell, personally taking direct orders from his handlers in Moscow and working from within the Oval Office to subvert this country. The FBI said they believed that could have happened, so they spied, apparently, on the President of the United States. Well, shocking doesn't even begin to describe this story. Nothing like this has ever happened in this country. These allegations are literally without precedent. That is not overstatement. And by the way, the allegations are not true. The FBI did not find that Donald Trump is a Russian agent. No charges were ever filed against him. None will be. But an equally important question remains unanswered. How did this happen? Deciding that a sitting president should be investigated for treason is not a small thing. Officials within the FBI had to push for this investigation and then marshal evidence to justify it. Leaders at the very highest levels of the agency had to sign off on the whole thing. All of that happened. But on what grounds exactly? That's what we would need to know in order to understand this. Well, thanks to the Times story, we have some sense of the answer. And if you're imagining a secret transmitter covered in Cyrillic script discovered hidden in the Lincoln bedroom, no, think again. There were no cloak and dagger clues in this case, apparently. The FBI assumed that Donald Trump might be a Russian agent not because of anything he did in secret, but because of things he said in public, very public, standing on a stage, on camera, while running for president. Here's one of them.
There's nothing I can think of that I'd rather do than have Russia friendly as opposed to the way they are right now. Wouldn't it be nice if we actually got along, as an example, with Russia? I'm all for it.
That was then-candidate Trump speaking at a press conference in Florida at Doral in July of 2016. According to the FBI, the words you just heard are evidence that Trump may have betrayed this country. That's their view. But there's another way to look at those words. Maybe Trump is right. Russia, rather, is a nuclear-armed power on the other side of the planet. It does not have the power to invade the United States. It can't close international shipping lanes. It does not seriously threaten our key allies like Japan or Great Britain. Is there some reason, then, that we should inherently be in conflict with Russia? Is there, moreover, vast public support in this country for fighting a proxy war in Syria with the Kremlin? And how many American parents are anxious to send their kids to die for the territorial integrity of Ukraine, an issue that we're supposed to think is very important? Well, outside a few neighborhoods in Washington, not very many people, it turns out. So Trump did raise a fair question at that press conference in 2016. In Washington, saying that out loud is considered treason.
Vladimir Putin policies almost being parroted by Donald Trump. You had Trump say only nice things about Putin. He never spoke ill about Russia.
Never spoke ill about Russia. That's the evidence a United States senator holds up to prove that the president may be working for our enemies. So maybe Trump does like Russia. Who knows? By the way, he's allowed to if he wants to. It doesn't make him evil. It just means he disagrees with prevailing orthodoxy in D.C., and that's okay. We're supposed to have spirited debates over questions like this, but no longer. Policy differences are now criminal offenses. Today on CNN, professional dumb person Max Boot listed 18 reasons that the president may be a Russian spy. If you looked at the reasons, a lot of them turned out to be political positions that Boot just doesn't agree with. Firing Jim Comey, pulling out of Syria, criticizing the European Union. And this is our favorite one. We're quoting, supporting populists. So the Permanent War Caucus in Washington has succeeded in criminalizing dissent from their agenda. That's what this is. And by the way, if it were happening in a less developed country, we'd know exactly what to call it. It's an attempted coup. A political leader gets elected on a platform that law enforcement agencies don't like. So those agencies try to put him in jail. It happens all the time in other places. Now it's happening here. Former FBI lawyer and anti-Trump activist Lisa Page described the FBI's thinking in her closed-door testimony before Congress. Russia is the most dangerous country in the world, Page reportedly said, because Russia works to, quote, weaken our ability, America's ability, and the West's ability to spread our democratic ideals, end quote. So spreading our democratic ideals, as with the Iraq War, is now the most important thing that America does, the one thing we must defend at all costs. When did FBI lawyers start talking like NeoCon propagandists? No wonder Max Boot is on board with this. Our entire media and political classes are with Max Boot and Lisa Page, too. They have lost their minds. This past September, NBC News breathlessly reported that Russia was using, quote, sophisticated microwaves to cause brain damage to U.S. diplomats in Cuba. No surprise there, really. It sounds like something those dastardly Russians would do just because. Well, now, months later, scientists have determined that the Kremlin probably didn't have anything to do with that. The real culprit? Noise from crickets. And by the way, not even Russian crickets. Indies short-tailed crickets. Non-Slavic crickets. Whatever. The media didn't correct the story. They ignored it and they moved on. They know who the bad guys are. Evidence does not deter their storyline. Russian espionage is so widespread, in fact, that the act of denying that you spied for Russia is now confirmation that you did. Watch.
Well, Christy, the president's tweet trying to make the case that he's not a Russian asset really just undercuts his own defense. The president's tweet couldn't have been scripted better if it was written by Putin himself. Someone has to have told the president that undercutting the FBI, insulting past presidents and members of the U.S. government, and criticizing their actions to keep us safe is really advancing Russia's mission. Our own intelligence community has said that those very things are exactly what Russia is after. So in the president's response, he's really just making Russia's job easier.
You say you're not a Russian agent, therefore you're a Russian agent. Who puts these people on TV? That's a question we should think about. Over the week,